Hello and welcome to the Revolut Insider podcast, where we explore Revolut's rocket ship from the inside out, one episode at a time. I'm your host, Alex Carrill, and joining me today is Isabel Rodriguez, People Partner for Global Mobility here at Revolut.
Hello, Alex.
Hi, Isabel. How are you?
Very good. And you?
Doing well, thank you. It's hard for me to say Rodriguez without wanting to put my Spanish inflection, say Rodriguez.
Say it with a Spanish inflection.
Rodriguez. Isabel Rodriguez. Well, I invited you to give us some insight into the world of global mobility, talk a bit about Revolut's work from abroad policy, and get your perspective on remote work. So thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Isabel, first, can you explain what global mobility is?
Well, basically, global mobility enables companies such as Revolut to transfer employees across the borders from one location to another. It can be through a business travel, short-term assignment, long-term assignment, or a permanent assignment. And in Revolut's case, we even have another benefit that it's the temporary work from abroad policy.
That means that you can just work from different places and not take any vacation days.
Yeah, well, there's limitations, of course, but yes, basically, yes.
And as someone who helps people to move around the globe, do you have experience yourself in traveling a lot or moving to new places?
I think so. I'm from the Canary Islands, that belong to Spain, but I studied my degree in law in Barcelona. I then went on Erasmus to Toulouse in France. And when I finished my career, I studied a master's degree in international law in the Netherlands. And as soon as I finished, I went to work in the US in Miami. And then I came back to Madrid. I got married here, so my life is a bit boring right now, but I've been a global mobility person myself.
Well, I wouldn't consider your life boring considering all these places that you've traveled to. That's incredible. So you really know what it's like to move around and having that flexibility to work from different places or just to work remotely. You know, Revolut, as many people know, is a remote first company. How does global mobility play a role in this?
Well, actually, there are several teams involved. Global mobility is a part of this because we allow people to work from wherever they want within certain limitations, as mentioned. But that would be our role in this remote first company system.
And what do you think are the benefits of a remote first approach?
I would say basically the freedom that it gives you. And if you are able to organize your time, it will give you more quality time to spend with whoever you want, family, friends, doing sports with your dog or whatever. I know that in practice, it's sometimes difficult, we all know, but it should give us more freedom to work efficiently.
Definitely. Not only are we a remote first company, but the flexible remote working options, right? So
Definitely.
Setting your own hours, like you said. So if you want to walk your dog or go to the gym midday, what would you say are any negatives that employees might have being completely remote?
If I'm speaking for myself, definitely not doing enough sports. I try to organize my time, but sometimes we spend too much time sitting at our desks. And that's definitely something that's not positive, but I think we can work to organize our time better. And another thing I would say would be not being in touch with the team. I mean, it's not the same meeting in person than speaking through a screen.
I had those qualms at the beginning as well when I started, but I was impressed. I think just having these weekly meetings with our team, I was surprised at how easily it was to build a relationship with these people over Google Meet calls, right? Like I don't feel isolated being at home. I feel connected. I'm talking with people. Also, my job is talking to people, so I think that makes it easier. But I think in general, we make it so everyone's accessible, so we can reach out.
In the global mobility side, we have a daily meeting where we end up being very close to each other.
It's really nice to have that. You also mentioned sitting at your desk and being in front of your computer for a long time. Obviously, it's recommended to stand up and stretch, every hour, take a break to let your eyes relax. What are some ways that we can move more or be more in touch with our teams?
I'm not an expert on this, but definitely I think setting a schedule for yourself or taking the most out of the flexible working hours to organize your time to take your dog for a walk or going yourself for a walk and breathing fresh air. And regarding the team, I think the engagement trips are a huge thing at the moment in Revolut. I think it's very useful. We will have one in December, actually, the Global Mobility team, and we are very excited to finally meet each other. But that would definitely be something to bring something positive.
My team and I, we met in Barcelona not too long ago, and that was just a great time to get to know each other in person, see how people interact in a different way, right? I mean, it's one thing to see people over online and you start to get a feel for who they are, but obviously when you meet them in person, it's very different.
Yes.
Yeah. My team and I, sometimes we set up like a coffee break where we just have like 15 minutes on a Friday just to hang out, to talk about what's going on with our lives. Sometimes we don't get a chance to do that in a normal team meeting, but to set out these 15 minutes a week or every 2 weeks or even once a month just to talk about what's going on, I think that's really beneficial for teams.
Of course. In our daily meetings, we usually spend some time also learning about each other, what's going on in each country. There are people from Poland, the UK, so it's really nice to learn about what's going on in each country, how people are spending their holidays or their free time. I really like it too.
At the end of the day, we do end up spending a lot of time with the people around us, despite the fact that we're a remote first company. So I really value the time that we get to spend collaborating and building those relationships because it's really important to have that.
Yes.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to ask you more about Revolut's temporary work from abroad policy. We'll be right back with more insider views. Did you know you can use your Revolut app to make a charitable donation? Choose from a huge selection of charities and effortlessly donate money with a tap. Charities get 100% of your donation, so you can feel good knowing that your whole contribution goes straight to the cause that you care about. Do some good with Revolut. And we're back on the Revolut Insider podcast here with Isabel Rodriguez, people partner on the Global Mobility team. Before the break, we were talking about working remotely and having the possibility to move around. So for me, that gives me this sense of freedom and excitement of potential opportunities. Have you worked from other places besides Madrid?
In my case, I've taken a few weeks to work from the Canary Islands to spend more time with my family, with my friends over there, and I've really enjoyed it. From your side, Alex, have you enjoyed this remote working experience?
I have, yeah. Actually, this summer I spent a week in the south. So I went to Almeria and it was just great. It's so different to be able to work with views of the beach or to get out for lunch and go for a quick swim and come back. I think you feel more energized, gives you this motivation, just to change up your environment. I think it's good.
Yes.
And actually, I'm going to LA to visit my family pretty soon. So it'll be nice to...
That's very cool.
Yeah. It'll be nice to see them. And, the hours will be kind of interesting to see how I balance that. But I think I'll make it work.
I'm sure you will.
So one of the big benefits actually is that Revolut allows employees to work abroad. That's a great chance and opportunity for us as employees. And I know when I first started, I loved hearing this benefit. I know there have been some recent changes, so can you share them?
Of course, yes. There's been a new policy issued. Some of the changes include, amongst others, the list of countries where people can work from. They can, of course, travel wherever in their free time, but they can only work from certain countries because there are certain aspects that have been reviewed by several teams. And after a detailed analysis, we have a list of green, amber, or red countries. Green countries where people can work from abroad, and red countries where, unfortunately, this would not be an option. While it's a great benefit for our employees, we also need to ensure that the company is compliant with all of the regulations and obligations and to ensure that our employees are safe.
Some people might think that you're the one in a room deciding which countries are available for work abroad and which ones aren't, but that's not the case. Can you tell us how these countries are decided?
Like most of the policies, there are always many teams involved and a lot of work behind it. In this case, the infosecurity team, the data protection team, or external vendors regarding the tax implications have been involved, analyzing one by one each of the aspects that could cause certain harm to either the company or to our employees. And based on that list, we've managed to get as many green countries as possible.
And the days that are covered under this policy to work temporarily from abroad has increased from 60 days to...
Exactly, to up to 120. But these 120 days include several countries. So for each country, you can stay for a maximum of 90 days.
And that's 90 days in a rolling 12-month period.
Exactly. Those 90 days depends on the country you're traveling to or traveling from. And depending on this series of factors, you will have a certain number of days. One of the news we have is a tool where employees can check how many days they've already spent in that country and see if they are able to travel to a certain country for a certain number of days.
To have 90 days at a time, for me, I mean, I'm on vacation for a week and I'm ready to go home after 10 days. So, but we have people that are from different countries. We represent many different nationalities here at Revolut. So the ability to be able to work from a different location instead of taking vacation really is a great benefit for employees.
Definitely. And I don't know many companies that enable so many days or this benefit at all. So that's great that we have this.
And what else should employees know about the work abroad policy?
Well, obviously, it has to have some limitations. For example, you can't be under probation period.
It makes sense. What's the purpose, would you say, of having this work abroad policy?
Basically giving an extra benefit for employees with certain policies and certain limitations, of course, but to have as much freedom as possible.
Yeah, to allow employees a way to manage their own time, to organize themselves in a way that they feel motivated, where they can have a healthy work-life balance, that
Yes.
same desire of wanting to have flexible working hours, which not a lot of companies do that.
At all.
In addition to the work abroad policy, Global Mobility also looks after business and engagement trips. And obviously, we know what business trips are all about, but can you talk a little bit about these engagement trips?
So in Revolut, there's a team that is the engagement team. But from our end, we are somehow involved because we are the ones who basically book those trips. So they are reviewed and approved by the engagement team. And then the employees who want to travel will need to raise tickets with us to request their accommodation and their flights.
I reached out to someone on the engagement team and they mentioned that they have over 150 approved team trips and already 60 of them have taken place so far.
Yes, we are very busy at the moment.
How do these trips benefit employees and the company?
It has a great impact in Revolut's culture. It enables us to talk about different things, not only work. As you mentioned, I think it's very important to talk about each other's lives and to learn a bit about our colleagues. So that's a great opportunity to do so.
I also think this is a great incentive to get employees to stay, right? Because we get to meet our teams, we have this trip to look forward to. And for me, at least, I feel really connected to the culture. I feel connected to my team. And it makes me want to do more. It makes me want to do better. I don't know.
Yes, I think these engagement trips are fantastic.
And you had mentioned that you've worked in other companies in a global mobility capacity, but not a lot of companies do this.
Not at all. From my experience, I've never worked in a company where engagement trips are organized. Maybe a party or something, but totally different concept. I don't know you if you've had any experience on this.
No, neither have I. Especially as a remote first company, to give employees that opportunity to travel, to get out of their home and to meet their team members, I feel is such an important and such a great initiative.
Yes.
And another aspect of global mobility is relocation. How do you help employees who might want to relocate?
We are a very global company, so we have many employees who want to travel from one place to another or maybe to work from another location. And our work is to enable them within some policies and within some limitations, of course, but try to promote that internal employees who have an outstanding career within Revolut have an opportunity to work from a different Revolut entity. And that's a great benefit too.
What approach do you think that companies should take regarding their global mobility policies, including remote work?
Well, that's a very personal question. From my end, I enjoy remote working. I think it's a wonderful system, but I think there are people who prefer like a hybrid system. I think you told me before that you prefer that one, right?
I prefer having the choice. I like being able to work from home whenever I want to, but if I want to go in the office, I request a desk and I can go in. I like that. I like that freedom of choice. And I think that companies should encourage employees to have that choice, right? To make it flexible.
Yes.
Well, before we say goodbye, I like to ask my guests one final question. Isabel, what advice would you give to yourself when you were just starting out in your career?
That's a tough one, Alex. But I would definitely say not taking things so seriously. don't lose sleep over things that aren't so important, basically.
And, that's something not only for your career, but for life in general, right? Lighten up.
Yes.
Life is meant to be enjoyed. And I think you can bring that into work as well. To have that positivity, to have this joie de vivre, this joy for life, where you can find this peace in both places. And I think that's kind of the key to remote work. I think that's the key to life in general, just to not take things so seriously, find your peace and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, Isabel, thank you so much for sharing your time and your experience with us today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here. You can subscribe to the Revolut Insider podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and on Instagram Insider. Thanks for tuning in to the Revolut Insider podcast, where we explore Revolut's rocket ship from the inside out. Until next time, remember, the sky is not the limit, it's just the beginning. Revolut. Change the way you money.